Well, it's 7 o'clock. Welcome to Tuesdays with Terry. We're going to give people a few minutes to sign on. I was on a Zoom this morning that I had a little trouble signing in, and a lot of people didn't get signed in for like 5-10 minutes. Zoom seems to be a little overwhelmed right now, and you may have noticed that our our cell phone reception has not been very good the last couple days through with all the carriers. So I guess there's a lot of video stuff going on right now. People are trying to socially distance, which is good because we're having another spike here in South Florida, especially in Palm Beach County. So tonight we are going to continue with the theme of selling your home, part two. Last week we just kind of did a quick overview of the process of selling your home. I think this time what we'll do is we will go over some questions that have come in over the past week. They're good questions. We try to keep this at a half hour. So I know everybody's doing a lot of Zooms and everybody's on the internet a lot. But we don't want to keep you for a long time. We just want to, this is like the fastest half hour in real estate. So we're just going to get right down to it and start answering some questions. If you have any ideas, any topics that you would like to see us discuss on Tuesdays with Terry, please let us know. Just respond in the chat box, send us a message, give me a phone call, 561-340-9623. But let's start going through some questions. A first question: what should I do first? Well, in all honesty, you should contact a realtor before you do things that might cost you money and are unnecessary. Talk to a realtor first. Decide on a realtor that you want to work with and bring them into the process in the very beginning so they can help, they can advise you, and they can make it a lot less complicated. What will a realtor do for me? Well, first of all, they can give you advice on getting your house ready to sell. That's one of the first things they can do. There are plenty of things that they can do for you. They can let you know what the market is like. They can let you know what houses are selling for in your neighborhood. They can take a walk through your home with you and give suggestions on what to do, what not to do. They can explain the process to you, and they can give you an idea of how they can help you. Not all realtors are created equal. So you should have someone that you feel comfortable with, someone that you feel you're on the same wavelength with. But don't wait till the end to bring them in. How do I know how much money I'll clear when you sell the house? Well, one of the first things that you want to do with the realtor that you choose is to agree on a price. I like to agree on a couple different prices. Now, in our company, Keller Williams, we are required to do a seller's net sheet with every client. What a seller's net sheet is basically it's a spreadsheet that lists all your expenses and all the money you'll receive and comes up with a final number of what you'll walk away with. Now, it's not an exact number. It's a best guess estimate, based on some costs that we know. And I like to do that scenario over 3 different price points. So it gives you an idea of what you might walk away for if we need to do a price adjustment. So that's something that's required with Keller Williams. Not all companies require that, but that's definitely something you should request. What do I fix? Well, it's your house, so you should really know what's broken in the house. And if you've been living there for some period of time, you kind of know. But just like your car, you kind of know what the issues are with it. So don't. The worst thing that can happen is that you don't fix things that you know need fixed. You find a buyer, they hire an inspector, they pay an inspector $400 or $500 to come in, and the inspector comes up with a list of 30 things that could easily have been fixed. And some of them are just common everyday items, and everybody knows that they're not buying a new house, but it's the job of the inspector to tell the prospective buyer what may need repaired. So depending on the contract that you're using or the offer to purchase, we'll discuss that a little bit later, this could delay the closing, or they could decide just to walk away and you have to start all over. Now that you're aware in writing of the repairs that need to be made, that's something you need to disclose to the next buyer. So there's really no way to get around it. Unless it's a cash buyer who doesn't really care about things, they are going to renegotiate the price, though. They're going to try to renegotiate the price. Now, let's say it's a house that you haven't lived in for a long time. Then you might want to consider having your own home inspection. Hire your own inspector to come in and point things out that might be problems, and you can fix as many of those as possible. Now, keep in mind that not all home inspectors are the same, and some will find more things than others will. But generally speaking, they follow a protocol, and they're all going to look at the same things. So if it's a house that you're not that familiar with, maybe it's a house that was an investment property for you, and now you've decided to sell it. Well, you might want to have a home inspector come in and look it over, not a contractor. Contractors are not basically trained the same way. Home inspectors come in, they look at the appliances, they'll measure the temperature of the air conditioner, they measure the temperature of the refrigerator. There's a lot of things they do that that a general contractor wouldn't think of doing. Should I paint? I think this is talking about interior. Well, if you have rooms with unusual colors, say, when your kid was younger, you painted the room bright blue and put some designs and stuff on it. You might want to paint over that. If the house hasn't been painted in years, then yes, I would suggest painting it. You are trying to get the top dollar for your house, and what you don't want is people coming in and saying, well, it's going to need painted. That's going to cost me $1,000. So I want to knock $1,000 off the price. You want to try and avoid that as much as you can. And in spite of what you may read or see on the internet or in some of these Facebook groups, I don't recommend going for the hot, snazzy new colors, the color of the year, so to speak. I suggest painting things a neutral color because you don't want to take the focus away from people getting a feeling of ownership in the house and actually feeling they can live there. And neutral colors will make the room look a little bit bigger, or at least not smaller like some of the bright colors will. My carpet is dirty. Should I replace it? Good question. First of all, have it professionally cleaned. professional cleaner, like a steam cleaner, will do a much better job than going to Publix and renting, or Home Depot and renting the carpet cleaning machine. While those do a good job, if the carpet's really dirty, have a professional come in and clean it. Now, if that doesn't get clean, and you still have spots, maybe you had young dogs, old dogs, that may have ruined the carpet, well, then I might replace it. Now, keep in mind that whoever buys the house is probably going to replace the carpet also. So I wouldn't go out and put the best carpet you can buy in the house, because it's probably going to get replaced. Not a lot of houses have carpet anymore, but some rooms do have carpet. Some stairs have carpet. So I would replace that with a light color, with an inexpensive brand, because it's probably going to get replaced anyway, but you want to make it look nice. My garage is overfilled. What should I do? Well, probably get a rental space. Probably what you want to do is you want to make the garage decluttered, just like the inside of your house. You want to make the floor, you can see the floor. You want to paint the floor gray, garage paint. You want to make the garage look as open and airy and big as you can. So, think about this. You're getting ready to move. So now might be the time to go through the garage and get rid of some things that you haven't used in a long time, sell them, have a garage sale, a yard sale, eBay, Craigslist, whatever, and get the garage cleaned out, because it's important. And you want to paint the garage. If you've had bikes hanging up on the ceiling or whatever, you want to repair those holes and, make it look inviting. My pool heater doesn't work. What should I do? Well, get an estimate, see how much it costs to repair it. If the estimate is more than the cost of a new pool heater would be, and you decide you don't want to go through the expense of purchasing and installing another pool heater, then remove it. And also remove the pad that it was on, because people will ask, what was this pad for? My house needs painted on the exterior. Should I paint it? Well, that kind of depends. If you're in an HOA, that can be a long process. If it's a one-story house, definitely needs painted, and you're not in an HOA, I would suggest going ahead and painting it. Once again, paint it a neutral color. If it's a big two-story house, that's kind of a judgment call, because it's going to be a little more expensive to have it painted. If it hasn't been painted in a long, long time, it's probably going to take 2 coats of paint. So that's something that is kind of a judgment call on your end. I do believe that most people that buy a house, they want to paint the house the color that they want it, which is why I suggest, if you just have a one-story house, it's not that difficult to paint. Go ahead and paint it a neutral color. It'll make it look nicer. However, it's going to cost you $3,000, $4,000 to paint your house. That's a judgment call. And that's something you should definitely talk to your realtor about, and should spend some time driving around in your neighborhood or your development, seeing how your house compares to some of the other houses that are for sale. If all the other houses that are for sale have recently been painted, then you can probably figure that the person that buys the house is going to want to figure that in on the price that they offer for your house. Should I replace the appliances? Well, For a high-end house, I'd say no, because appliances for a high-end house are, um, they're going to be pretty expensive. And I think most people that are buying on the higher end, they're going to want their own appliances. They're probably going to buy their own appliances. They're going to be making changes to the house. I wouldn't spend $10,000 on new appliances unless you've just recently gutted the house. In which case, if you've done a renovation, then you want to have some nicer appliances in there. If we're looking at the average price house, or even on the lower end, I would say yes, because especially for first-time home buyers, they're looking for a house that they can move right into. So, I mean, you don't have to put high-end appliances in there, but they do need to be appliances that are in a good working order. And if they look dated, get some newer appliances. They don't have to be brand new, and they don't have to be top of the line. But having appliances, especially for an average priced house, is a selling feature, because a lot of people are really close to their financial limit purchasing the house to begin with, and then to have to go out and spend another $5,000 on appliances, a microwave, a dishwasher, a refrigerator, a range. They might not have the money for that. Now, last VA house, Veterans Administration guaranteed loan, that I sold, they required a couple of the appliances to be replaced. So the range, the stove was okay, the microwave was okay, but they required the dishwasher to be replaced and the refrigerator to be replaced. The dishwasher wasn't doing an adequate job, and the refrigerator wasn't keeping cool enough. So that was the VA appraiser that made that judgment call. And that was on a lower end house. So they were looking at someone that wanted to come in and be able to live in that house from day one without doing anything. What about landscaping? Well, landscaping is a significant selling point for a lot of houses. A lot of people, they'll schedule appointments to see several houses in a day. And sometimes they'll drive up to the house and then just tell the real, no, because nowadays, most people don't ride in the same car. Buyers, they want to be together in their car, and they'll meet the realtor at the house so they can talk. So, they may pull up and then just tell the realtor, no, never mind. Just based on first appearance, they don't want to go inside the house. And sometimes you have to say, but wait a minute, the inside of the house looks a lot different than the outside of the house. So landscaping is important. Make sure everything's trimmed. The trees are trimmed, especially the palm trees. If you have those dying brown palm fronds, those need to be removed. And I know the higher a tree gets, the older it gets, the harder it is to trim it, because most people can no longer trim it themselves. They can't reach it. So that's something you should do before you put the house on the market. Trim the trees, freshen up the flower beds, put new mulch in it. And mulch doesn't, especially in this climate, red mulch especially doesn't last that long. So you may have to refresh it more than once. Hopefully the house, there's a limited inventory right now, so houses are selling very quickly. So you want to grab them. You want to grab their attention as soon as they come to the house. So freshen up the house. I mean, freshen up the landscaping, freshen up the flower beds. Put some new flowers in there. Get a tray of flowers. Put them together. Make sure the hedges are trimmed. Make sure the lawn looks like it's been maintained. And if you have bare spots, throw some sod down. Dig out a little square, put a piece of sod in there. After a week or so, you can't really tell. It all kind of grows in. Can you be more specific about decluttering? Well, think minimalist. The less, the better. Um, Ideally, you want the house to look like a model home. If you've ever gone to a new housing development and you see the model home, what do they have? They have a living room uh, with not a lot of furniture in it. They want you to be able to see the space. You know, they may have a couch, they may have a chair, um, they may have a TV screen. We all have flat TV screens now, so it doesn't take up a lot of space. Um, you know, they may have a vase, they may have some flowers. They don't have a lot of stuff laying around. You don't see pictures laying around. You might see pictures hung up on the wall of landscapes or something, but you don't see family pictures. If you go into the dining room in a model home, what do you see? You see a dining room table laid out with silverware and plates. You don't see anything else. You go into the bedrooms, you see a bed, and you might see a closet with a few things hanging up in it, just to give you an idea of what it would look like with clothes in it. And then you may see a couple dressers, a couple mirrors. That's it. That's all you see. Um, you don't want a lot of furniture in the house. You want to see open space. So if you have, you know, you've been living in your house for a while, it's a house you live in, it's not a model home. Well, you kind of have to transform it. You have to get rid of a lot of the, not get rid, but pack up a lot of the knickknacks that you have, a lot of the vases that you have, a lot of the family pictures that you have that are important to you. But when someone comes in to look at the house, they don't get a sense of their ownership of the house and how it would look, because all they can see is your stuff. So you want to depersonalize it. Now, um, you're going to be moving. I mean, if you're putting your house up for sale in this market, it's going to sell. So um, you might as well get prepared to move and start packing things up, putting them in boxes, labeling them, and that's where storage space might come in handy. It might make the move a lot easier. Okay, let's see where we're at time-wise here. 7 minutes with about 7 questions. Pricing strategies. How should I price my house? Well, the popular belief now is to start low, a little bit below market value, because there's a lack of inventory now. So if you price it a little bit below market value, you're gonna see a lot of activity. When you get a lot of activity, that should generate a lot of offers since it's priced a little bit below market. So when you get several offers, you take them all in, and then you tell all the other realtors that you're in a multiple offer situation, which you are, and you would like to have highest and best by tomorrow at, say, 5 p.m. And what we're seeing is houses then sell above market value because of the inventory shortage. Houses are selling in a few days. And if people have found out that they found the house that they want, they may be willing to up their offer a little bit more, and hopefully it will appraise at that offer. Now, if you've set your price and you're having showings and you're not having any offers, then this isn't the market to sit on the house. Then you should reduce the price. You set it a little too high for the market. So if you're getting showings, no offers, I'd say you're around 5% too high. And that's what the general philosophy is. If you're not getting a lot of showings, then you may be up to 10% too high. You know, if it's a higher priced house, maybe 6%. If it's a lower priced house, you might be as much as 12% too high. Now, if you're getting no shows, if you're getting people scheduling showings and not showing up, meaning they're just, like I talked about earlier, they're driving up and they're deciding not to get out of the car, then you've overshot the market. You've priced too high. So you have to reconsider your pricing, and you might have to go at least 10%, maybe 12%. To get back in, because you don't want to miss that opportunity. The first couple weeks are it's when your house is hot. If it's still on the market after 2 weeks, then people start to wonder, especially in this market, why is it still on the market? Should I get an appraisal? Well, an appraisal can be helpful. They cost about $500. Like inspectors, they're not all the same. While they follow the same protocol, they're not always going to come up with the same appraisal value. Working with a good realtor that can pull up good comps, and by comps, I mean houses that have sold recently, and not the price necessarily that you've heard about or somebody that told you about. There could be concessions in there that people don't talk about. So you want to get the real price that houses have sold for in your neighborhood and base your selling price on that. That's really how you come to the market value of the house. It's what other houses similar to yours are selling for. Now, there's 3 or 4 different ways to come up with that price, and your realtor should know and be able to explain what some of those ways are. What is a seller's disclosure? It's very important. That's another thing that's required by our company, Keller Williams. If you're going to sell your house, you have to complete a seller's disclosure. It's a form that has been approved by the Florida Board of Realtors and the State Attorneys Association. It's about 3 to 4 pages long, and it has different categories, and you have to check off whether you know that there's a problem, or you don't know that there's a problem, or yes, there is a problem, please explain. So if you've repaired your roof, say you had a hurricane claim during the last hurricane, then you really need to check that on the seller's disclosure, because some inspectors will find that information. They'll find that you had a roof repair. Now, why the seller's disclosure? Well, it's a form of protection. Doesn't have anything to do with the realtors. The realtors don't sign it, and they're really not supposed to fill it out for you. This is something that you have to do. It is to protect you and protect the buyer. And yes, if you leave something big off, yes, you possibly can be sued. There was a big lawsuit in Tampa a year or so ago, and it was about a sinkhole. And the sellers knew that there was a sinkhole problem, and they did not disclose that, and therefore it was a big lawsuit. It was a big deal. So don't try and hide it, because it's going to come out during a home inspection. It's very seldom that you get by, and you don't want to go through the whole process and then have to start all over again. What type of contracts should I accept? Well, actually, we call them contracts, but they're really offers to purchase. So in Florida, so there's really 2 kinds. There's what we call the FAR bar, or I refer to it as the regular contract, and then there's the as-is contract, FAR bar as-is contract. What are the differences? Well, the regular contract, the main difference is it's pretty much binding. In the beginning, in the offer, the buyer will ask the seller to be responsible for a certain percentage of the sales price for repairs based on the inspection. So let's say, for sake of numbers, it's a $100,000 house, and it's a regular contract, and the seller agrees to 3%. That based on the inspection report, they'll cover 3% of the repairs. So the inspection report, it comes out that it needs a new water heater. The water's not hot. That there is a leaky line for the air conditioner unit, which happens to be upstairs in the roof. So there are some repairs that need to be made. to the ceiling and maybe to some of the wood. So the seller has already agreed that he'll make those repairs. So if the seller has agreed to make those repairs, it's a binding contract. Now with the as-is contract, of course, you're buying the house as is. And the perception is that there aren't going to be any repairs. Now, the buyer does have an inspection period, which is a contingency, maybe 5 to 15 days, that they can do their inspection, they can get the report back, and they can decide for any reason that they don't want to move ahead with this purchase. They can back out, and as long as they notify the realtor, the other realtor, the listing agent, within those 5 to 15 days, whatever it is, that they're going to back out, they can get their deposit back. If they go past that period and want to back out, they can't get their deposit back, or it can be a problem. Now, there's another contingency, which has to do with the financing. So if the lender doesn't meet the deadline, which is sometimes 5 to 10 days before closing, with an actual letter of loan approval, then the buyer can also get out of the contract. But oftentimes, even with an as-is contract, these things are negotiated. Many times sellers don't want to start all over again. And if it's an FHA and the inspection report comes back, well, these are things that are going to have to be fixed anyway, because you're going to have to amend your seller's disclosure based on the fact that you were provided with an inspection report that told you that the hot water tank doesn't work, that there's, the air conditioner is leaking. So those are things you need to disclose. So a lot of times, everything will get renegotiated. Repairs will get made, and or the price will be renegotiated, I should say. I think those are really, there's some other differences between the two contracts, but those are the big things that you need to know. The financing contingency is important. And I'll tell you why. It has to do with underwriting. What is underwriting? Well, most times when a buyer talks to a loan officer, a lender, they get a pre-qualification, or I'm sorry, a pre-approval. Pre-qualification isn't really worthwhile, but they get a pre-approval. It's based on desktop underwriting. It's software that almost all lenders use. They plug the numbers in that they ask you. What's your salary? What are your expenses? Blah, blah, blah. And then they come up with these ratios. It gets calculated. And then based on the information that you provided to them, they'll give you it's conditional. It's conditional on you filling out a complete loan application. So you go out, you get that letter that you have a conditional pre-approval. You go out, you find a house, you put an offer to purchase in, you move ahead, you have your inspection, everything turns out okay, or there are a few issues, and you negotiate them away, and now you're waiting. Now you're waiting for the financing contingency. Well, now, after the appraisal is ordered, you pay for it, but the lender, the lender sets it up and picks their appraiser. That's when the file goes to the underwriter. Now the underwriter looks at the whole loan now and does what they call now a deep dive into it. And they dig a little bit deeper. They might find out that maybe there's some discrepancies with your student loans. Maybe there's a lien on the property. Maybe you have a lien on taxes. That's when underwriting can really scotch the deal at the last minute. I mean, I've had calls the night before closing. Oh, the underwriter was looking at the file, and there's a shed way in the backyard, but it has electricity in it. That electricity has to be disconnected before closing tomorrow. There's crazy things that pop up. Some lenders now go straight to underwriting. That's very helpful. So it might take another day or so before you get your pre-approval letter, but it's not necessarily a conditional pre-approval letter. It's pre-approval letter. They're going to loan you the money unless something crazy pops up. You know, I mean, if something, you know, what are things that can derail the transaction that sometimes are out of your hands. You find out that there's been an unlicensed or a non-permitted addition to the house. They closed the garage, but they didn't do it with permits. They did make some repairs that you asked for, but they weren't made according to code, and they didn't use a licensed contractor. You don't have to accept that. There's unreported repair issues. You go in through the walkthrough the day before closing, and you find some other issues. Okay, that can derail the transaction. The buyer or the seller changed their mind. That happens. That gets a little messy. The buyer loses their job. That can go either way in this day and age. If they've just been furloughed, if they've just been laid off, it might not affect things. If they've been laid off so that they can collect unemployment and then go back to their job, might still be okay. These are uncertain times. So that's kind of an iffy one now. In the past, it hasn't been iffy at all. You lose your job, the deal's over. Buyer makes large purchase affecting credit. You go out, you buy a new car. You go out, you buy new living room furniture, new bedroom furniture. Buyers can't do that until after closing. Underwriting can find something that they're not happy about. There could be title issues. And that's why you have to have title insurance, and that's the whole idea of having a title agency look through this stuff. There can be code liens or other liens that didn't come up until the last minute. We found out that, especially on investment properties, that people are selling, that maybe the tenant didn't pay the water bill. There's a $1,200 water bill. Well, the seller's going to have to pay that water bill before closing. Sometimes those things don't turn up until the last minute. But, you know, a lot of times things that pop up are simple things that can be negotiated. It needs a handrail on the back porch. No big deal, but it won't close until that happens. A hot water tank needs replaced. There's little things that can be negotiated away. So let's see where we're at here. Oh, I went over. Sorry about that. So if you have any, I hope this has been helpful. So if you have any questions, please respond in the chat. Send us a message on Facebook. Send me an email, readgroup@kw.com, or give me a call, 561-340-9623. Thanks for tuning in to Tuesdays with Terry.